When you think of a cyber attack, you probably picture some lone hacker in a dark room, right? Well, you can just forget that image. Today's cyber attacks are run by global criminal enterprises that operate with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 company. They're organized, they're professional, and they are incredibly sophisticated. So let's dive in and see what that really means.
And this quote, it just nails it. We're not talking about simple digital smash and grabs anymore. This is a robust and dynamic ecosystem. These groups have business plans, they have HR, they have a relentless focus on profit. Just like a modern corporation, the whole game has changed. All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to look at what this new cybercriminal enterprise actually looks like. We'll get into the business model behind ransomware, see how extortion itself has evolved, explore how they're hacking entire systems, and then, finally, we'll talk about the new threat landscape this creates for everyone.
So let's start with that big picture, this fundamental shift from hackers hiding in basements to coordinated teams that might as well be operating out of corporate boardrooms.
What we're seeing today is really a perfect storm of three key things. First off, professionalization. These groups have specialized roles, profit-sharing models, the whole 9 yards. Second, sophistication. Their technical skills have just gone through the roof. And third, this idea of geopolitical entanglement. The lines between for-profit criminals and state-sponsored spies are getting blurrier every single day.
And this whole explosion in professionalism, it was really driven by one thing: an incredibly effective and scalable business model that basically turned cybercrime into a franchise operation. And that model is called Ransomware as a Service, or RaaS. Seriously, just think of it like a McDonald's franchise. You have a core development team that creates the malicious software, that's the secret sauce, and then they lease it out to affiliates all over the world who actually carry out the attacks. This model was an absolute game changer because it lowered the barrier to entry. Suddenly, an army of less technical criminals could launch these devastating campaigns.
And this pipeline is just brutally efficient. Developers build the tools, affiliates rent them and launch the attacks, and then everybody gets paid. And with the affiliates often keeping a whopping 80% of the ransom, the financial incentive is massive. It's a self-fueling, highly scalable criminal machine.
So how profitable are we talking? $100 million. That's the estimated personal take for the guy behind the Lockbit ransomware group. And get this, that's just from his 20% cut. This isn't some side hustle, it's a financial empire built on extortion.
And here's the really crucial part. Even when law enforcement manages to take down a huge group like Lockbit, the system itself is incredibly resilient. The skilled affiliates, they don't just disappear. Nope, they just pack their bags and migrate over to the next rising star. The fall of Lockbit directly fueled the rise of RansomHub. The brand on the door might change, but the attackers are still very much in business.
Okay, so it's not just the business models that have gotten a serious upgrade. The extortion methods themselves. They become a masterclass in applying psychological pressure.
You see, extortion has evolved way beyond just locking up your files. First, attackers layered on a second threat. They'd steal your data and threaten to leak it publicly. Then came triple extortion, where they'd also hit you with a DDoS attack to shut down your operations. Then quadruple extortion, where they actually start harassing your customers. But the most sophisticated evolution? These encryptionless attacks. They don't even bother locking your files anymore. They just steal the data and threaten to leak it, making the information itself the ultimate weapon.
This brings us to the next level of sophistication, because the most advanced attackers, they're not just targeting individual companies anymore. No, they're targeting the very systems and platforms that entire industries rely on.
They're using these incredibly powerful one-to-many strategies. For example, in a supply chain attack, they'll hit one software provider, like SolarWinds, and use that to infect all of its thousands of users downstream. Or in a cloud platform breach, they'll hit a service like Snowflake to get access to data from hundreds of its customers, all at once. It's all about maximum impact from a single point of failure.
So how do they stay invisible while doing all this? They use a technique called living off the land. Instead of using custom, clunky malware that's pretty easy for security tools to spot, attackers use a system's own legitimate tools, things like PowerShell. Their malicious activity just blends in with all the normal network traffic, which makes them exceptionally hard to find. It's like they're a ghost in the machine.
So when you combine these professional business models with these incredibly sophisticated stealthy tactics, you get a completely new threat landscape. It's become this high-stakes arms race where the lines between different types of attackers are getting very, very blurry.
I mean, just look at how these worlds are converging. You've got North Korea's Lazarus Group, which is basically a state-run criminal enterprise using bank heists to fund the regime. Then you have China's APT-41, a state espionage unit that also moonlights by hacking video game companies for profit. It's no longer just crime or just spying. A lot of the time, it's both.
A really critical factor in this whole arms race is speed. 5 days. In 2023, that was the median time an attacker was inside a network before anyone even knew they were there. And while that sounds pretty fast, the reality of how they're eventually discovered is what's truly alarming.
So it begs the question, right? If these attacks are moving at lightning speed, how are defenders supposed to catch them?
Well, the shocking answer is they aren't. This chart reveals a pretty unsettling truth. In a staggering 76% of cases, the victim only finds out they've been breached when the attacker sends them the ransom note. Let that sink in.
And that's the fundamental challenge right there. Attackers are moving so fast that they're in, they've stolen the data, and they're out before defenders even know a game is being played. That window for traditional threat hunting has slammed shut. Defenders are left playing from behind, forced to react instead of being able to proactively hunt.
So this leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. We are in a cyber arms race, but it's not about brute force anymore. It's a race defined by speed, business efficiency, and incredible technical sophistication. And in a race like that, you really have to wonder, are defenders just playing catch-up in a game they might be destined to lose?